Guys, welcome back to Hooked On. Today I'm going to be showing some kids how to get fishing really inexpensively, because I know a lot of kids in my area don't have money. So went to the flea market the other day and found this fishing pole for $1. It's a little ZEBCO, and I'm going to kind of go over what to look for when you're looking for a used pole so you don't buy a bad one by mistake. First thing is make sure it's a good pole, like a ZEBCO or something. Don't get an off-name one if it's old. Make sure that it still can come apart or not come apart. Make sure the eyelets are straight. Everything looks straight on it. And then when you're checking for this type of pole, what you want to do is you want to click the button and make sure that it actually clicks and comes back, even if it's sluggish. Like this one's real sluggish, but it does click, so that part's fixable. You're gonna unscrew the cap and just look at the pieces and make sure there's not a lot of rust or anything in there, because there's not a lot to these. Look in here, make sure this little piece right here on this button isn't broken. If that's broken off, it wouldn't work, so that would be your first sign to not get that pole. But for $1, this pole has everything you need. It is real sluggish and old, needs clean. So what we're going to do is the next step, we're going to go in and clean it up, and we'll put some line on it, and you'll get a pole for about $1 plus your line. Instead of paying $15 at Walmart, this will be an easy way to get started. And let's go inside and clean her up. Welcome back, guys. I'm in the house now getting ready to clean this pole up. I use an old toothbrush to clean my fishing reels and stuff. I have an old sponge, an old towel, because I'm probably going to get it greasy with all the grease that comes out of this, and Dawn soap to help cut the grease. I'm going to fill up the sink with some warm or hot water. We're going to work on getting that sticker off. It'll just make it look better. And if it doesn't come off, I'll go over another trick later to get the gumminess off, but we're going to see if we can just scrub it off. Okay, that's the first step. I'm not even going to bother taking it off the bottom half of the pole. The pole's all good. It even still has the sticker or the tag on it from when someone bought it years ago. A lot of people never cut those off. So we got water in there. We're going to take the cap off, and our goal is to get all the grease and oil out of this. That is in there, because amongst all that grease and oil is a whole bunch of sand and dirt and debris. So you want to make sure you scrub it real good, and we're going to later in the next step we'll go through re-lubricating everything. So we're just going to clean that one up, put it off to the side. Actually, I'll dry that one off. It's all cleaned up inside, looks new. This next part just pops out. That has a lot of debris. We're going to let that sit in the bottom for a minute. We're going to work on this part. I still have soap on my sponge, so we're going to get down in here. And you'll need the other part of the toothbrush to kind of get down in this cavity to get all the debris out of there. The more you can get out of there now would be better, because once you start using it again, that debris is going to flow right back up into the reel and give you problems. So it's best just to clean it all out of there. So we got that all cleaned off. We're going to rinse that part off. Right. Another neat thing, if you keep buying like ZEBCOs, you can, these little things pop out, these thumb things. So if you find one for like $1, like a reel that's missing one of these, but you have a reel that's bad, you just get it from the other reel you have, and then you got to pull for $1. They just snap in. And the spring part of that is actually attached to the next piece we're going to clean. And we got that all cleaned up. Looks like a nice pole again. And this one is where all your mechanisms are. You usually don't have to take them apart. It's just a matter of getting all this old, it's basically Vaseline that gets in there that they put in originally when you buy it. And we're going to reapply that after we get it all cleaned up. So we're just going to keep spinning and kind of get all that debris out of there, because that's where all the sand and rust and stuff builds up. And that's your gear, so it's really important to keep that clean. We're probably going to take you can leave the old line on there. I wouldn't trust it, because you don't know how old it is. It could be rotten, so we'll take the line off of this too and put fresh line on it. Make sure it's working. So it spins real quiet. That means I don't have any sand left in there. If you hear grit or grinding, you still got sand. That was water dripping. Let's see. It's real smooth. I don't have anything, so I know the reel's in good shape. You can hear that click now. It moves a lot easier. It's hard to work it when it's not in there, and it comes down slow, but you can hear it click. and then down. So we know the mechanism's all good, nothing has to be taken apart other than these two pieces to get this out, and we're going to dry that off and go apply the grease back to it and put some new line on it. So we'll do the line in another video probably. I'll see how I feel today, but I'm going to rip all that line off and we're going to apply new Vaseline to all this. And like I said, look how clean that is. There's no rust anymore, no stuff, so that's a real good sign. So when we're done, I'll pull that $1 at a flea market. Will turn into a really good working pole for a child, your child, or some other child if you just want to fix it for somebody.
Go.
Okay guys, now I'm back at a table here that's got some covering on it so I don't mess up the table. And we're going to put this back together. The first thing we're going to want to do is get all this string out of here. That can be difficult, the string stuck way in there. Usually if you run a Q-tip in there, if you can get it in there, or a toothpick, you can get that string to pop out the side. It's probably stuck inside there. Let's see if I can get it to pop out. There it goes. So we got the string out. We're going to take this.
There you go.
Okay guys, we got the string to come out of the spool a little bit here. So the next step is to put this back on the reel so we can pull the rest of the string off easy. So you got it. Once you put that little piece on there, you're just going to set it in there. We're going to put the cap on. You got to go from the bottom of the cap to... Okay, we got our string through and screw that cap back on. It's real important that the cap seats all the way down because that keeps everything working properly. And then push your button in and it should release your line. And you can just pull that line out. It's going to be kind of rough probably coming out. And I might have got it all. Let's see. That line's so old it might have broke. Let's see what's in there. Looks empty. So now we got our empty. So next we're going to put new line on. And I'm using 6-pound test. We're going to first go through the top of the thing down to the piece so that we know we got to go in the right direction. And we're going to tie the line on using the barrel knot, which is just a simple barrel knot. So you're just going to twist your line around a little bit. It's basically a slip knot that's going to keep that line up against that reel. And then just go through, I don't know if you can see that loop right there. Can you see the loop? Go through that little loop right there. And pull your tail of the line if you can get a hold of it. Okay, and then before we pull that tight, I'm going to snip off some of that tail if I can get it down in there. Let's see. So I'm starting to go tight, but I don't want that long tail, and once it gets in there you'll have trouble cutting it. So we're going to see if we can tighten the tail up on there. Pull just the tail, hold the hook, hold the line out from the reel and pull that tail because we don't want it to cinch up anymore. And then we're just going to... Okay, so I got my line tied in. Before I set this into there, I didn't do this first because I don't want my fingers to get all greased up. I have Vaseline and a Q-tip, and we're going to take that and put it all around the gear right here. I just don't want to get it all over my fingers when I do it. And you can put it on real generous. What this is going to do is keep pushing the debris away from all that and make sure you get around that spring. And it should turn and make sure it spreads out, and it does. So I don't want to mess that all up. Now I'm going to set it into the pole. We already put our line through the top of that, so it should slide right on. And again, make sure it tightens down squarely on there, because when you push that trigger to release it, it has to be on there correctly to release the line. If it's not on there correctly, your line won't come out. Okay, so now we're just going to twist the line on. Make sure you have pressure a little bit on your fingers here, so you can twist the line on. If it starts spinning too crazy for you, you can have an assistant help you. I'm going to use the back of my pole and they're going to hold that line right there. If I can get it to go right. Yeah, here we go. And I'm going to put a little pressure too, and I'm just going to reel in line. You don't want to put too much pressure on the line because it'll get too tight on the reel, and if it gets too tight on the reel, the first or two casts you do, your line's going to spring off on the inside. You'll have a big mess inside. So we're just let it barely pressure to keep the line straight so we don't get loops in it. And when we think we're getting close, we can actually open the reel up and we'll look inside and see how close we are. So I'm going to reel here for about 30 seconds. And we're going to open it up, just unscrew and see how much line we have in there. Not enough, it's got to come all the way almost out to that outside part. So we'll get it done right, though I only did about a third of it so far. So I'm going to set this down, it's kind of getting tangled up, so I'm going to set it down so it just pulls off the top. I'm going to keep reeling that line in, but again I'm going to keep that little bit of pressure between my fingers and the line so I don't get loops and stuff tangled in it. You can hear the clicking in the reel. It sounds real good now. It didn't have that sound originally. The button was sticky. But if you check all those things I showed you to check in the beginning of the video, that'll make sure that you're getting a reel that actually is going to be fixable. Okay, I'm going to check it again. Let's see if we're getting close. Okay, you can see where that line is at in there. I don't know how well you can see that. Let me push the button up. It's got another 1/8 of an inch yet of line. It has to come as close as you can to the outside of that first spool in there. And the reason you want it out to the outside, if you run low on line when you go to cast, you tend not to be able to cast very far because of the friction you're getting from the line running on that metal. So the closer we get it to the outside edge, the better. We're real close right now. So we got a little squeakiness in there. I'm going to spray some WD-40 just down here in the handle part where you can't get the grease, and that'll get rid of that little squeak. Okay, we only had to go 1/8 of an inch. Let's check again. Okay, now if you look in there, you can see, let's see if I can pull it out. See the line where it's at inside this first bale? You could stop there, but we're going to go a little bit more and try getting a little bit closer because the friction of that line coming around that bale is what's going to slow down your cast and make it not go as far as you want. So we're just going to slide it back in. We're going to keep going here. Make sure it's seated correctly. And hold the line again, and we're going to put some more on. Okay guys, it had squeak in there, but I can't get grease inside this little spinning part, so we're just going to give it a little touch of WD there and see if we can get that to calm down. Okay, so we know we're full at this point for one reason while I'm in between of that, is I can't really, it doesn't want to reel in real well, so I bet if I check this, we're going to be right at the edge of that first spool I was showing you. Okay, now you see the line, how it's almost out to the edge. You see where it's coming off here of that main spool? That's where you want it. That is going to give you the optimal amount of line release, so that line's going to fly off that spool real easy without hitting all this metal down here in the process. So now that we got that on there, we're going to put her back together one more time. And you can see just me barely touching the line, it wants to come off. I mean, it just wants to fall off there. So when you throw a real light lure, it's going to help. Another thing you can do when you go to put these caps on, everyone wants to go right into turning the right direction, but if you go reverse, you can hear it click. Listen to that again, hold on. Hear that? Stop on it again. There it goes. So when it clicks like that, you know you're in line with all the threads, and it turns in real easy. So you get a good lock on that. So now we got our line all done here. I don't have anything to put on this today, so what we're going to do is just wrap this line around the handle down here a couple times to hold it in place, and our pole will be ready to be strung and have a hook put on it, so we'll be ready to go when we go fishing. So now we took that dollar reel and made a awesome gift for a kid to use that can't get one, or for you to use, or your kids to use, and they can be ready to go fishing. Fishing line's another issue. It does get expensive getting fishing line, but you can usually find this at other places like Ollie's and discount stores where you get a roll for $1 or $2 instead of paying the $7 or $8 it is at Walmart. But that might save you some money for the kids too. I would advise not buying line in an open market or anything that's not sealed, because you don't know how old it is and it might just be garbage line. So make sure whenever you buy fishing line it is actually still sealed in the package so you know it's not been out in the weather or been damaged in any way. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video and get out there and do some fishing. Thank you.